boy. Morning. Happy Friday. True. How do I find my... Alright. Seems like yesterday was pretty eventful. We want to see, just like yesterday, it's the exact same trade, guys. We want to see this 28.50 to 25 area become supportive for our upside. It's crazy. That's... imagine. But the zone has been so important this week. Trending. Let's just see if we can build here. Need the Russell to find a bottom, ideally here. I'd like to see this 28.50. But yeah, this is basically the top of the range. feel like it's pretty obvious that this is the range. Let's bring this. We have an imbalance here, but surely we can see that this used to be the high and is now acting as support, and that this is the top, and that we need to see this hold for upside. Hopefully that's obvious at this point. Been trading it for quite some time, so not obvious by now. I don't know what to tell you. No, there's no snow. There's supposed to be snow tomorrow. Yikes. Yeah, no, not yet for me. I am not looking forward to it. Alright, I'm just trying to get us situated. I'm gonna take off one into 38. Like these are just like the general levels that we're playing around. Like at this point, if you guys aren't playing the 25 to 2850 that I've been talking about all week in every single one of our plans, I don't know what to tell you. I'm out one here. Chat now. Morning, Murray. This thing started happening. I don't know if anyone knows how to get rid of it. don't even know if it'll show up. Oh, it will. Okay. If I have a YouTube video open on another window, I have this pop up on one of my monitors. It won't go away. How do I get rid of that? I don't get it. It's like actually in the way. Thank you, Sauce. So it's a Chrome thing? I'm not even on Chrome. Oh no, it's a Windows 10 thing. Oh, okay. So I'm on my old PC, so that's why it's with Windows 10. That's why I must have been from like an update that happened after I stopped using it. This is obnoxious. Jesus. I mean, it at least it has named it, right? Like that's something. I didn't even know what it was before that, so it's new to me. Oh my god, these people that have a 3-minute video and then in a minute of it is their like crappy Blender intro and like montage. What are you doing? So it is a Chrome thing. What? Okay. You'd want a buyer to step in here, ideally, on ES. We want this buyer to still be present at a higher low. They're going to hold it. If not, then we can get a deeper pullback down back into this 28.50 area. So let's hope that this yellow box is able to hold. Bring this over just so we have reference. And then, of course, we're going to have to get over this number at 34.75, bid above, and that gives us a push in that 40 failure. Then you have that as your reoffer, right? See how sharp the amount of volume is and traded there. So you need to see a look above that, or you expect a seller to defend it. So until we see the push above, and then the pop over on top of it, expect a seller to trying to push price down. All right, let's see if that fixed it. Yeah. So it was a experimental feature. What? Sauce? Driving me nuts? So we have the Russell battling with Globex high here. Needs to get over it. NQ pretty sideways, right? So nothing to really say there. We have clear pivots above that we need to breach if we want to see any sort of more upside. Or price is going to have to come back down to the buyer that was present in the right at the open of the session to show their hand again, right? So this is where we want to be watching to see if the ES buyer is serious at this 28.50. If this 28.50 to 25 doesn't show as supportive and it becomes resistance, then we can play this down to like 18 on ES. But we ideally really do want to see this hold. Like, I don't want to see price go much lower than that. We want Globex high to hold for ES. We want NQ Globex high to also hold. The reason why this area matters quite a bit.
Top of the hour, Fed's Kashkari delivers welcoming remarks and participates in a fireside chat at the bank's annual regional economic conditions conference. No text is expected, but there is a Q&A.
Is that we have a seller POC down at this 27
on Fed's Kashkari's entry in the calendar.
So basically we've had a seller accumulate here and push price down. This is our first look above, right? And if this doesn't hold, and if it becomes resistance again, then we can come back down to fill this LVN back down to this 18 area, right, where this node is. So we want buyers to now show their hand and flag this out, right? Build here, pop over this, show acceptance, pop. This gives more upside if we hold this 25 to 20. That's just needs to be clear. If this becomes resistance and we see acceptance here, this gets filled. And then we don't have a trade for long side until we either try here down at this 14 to 18, or we see a recovery of this area for a pushback up. Which is why I'm being like, I want to make sure that you are aware of why this area is important. And if it doesn't hold, where we're going to go. There's just no structure. So as we come down into this, Sunny yes, we are watching to see what happens to the Russell into ADR and in NQ into our Globex high. We're looking for these things to bottom out to give us an understanding if ES is going to have enough strength to be able to push off of here. Need the Russell to bottom out for that to happen, ideally. Or a move to like actually show that it wants to hold.
Shortly expecting comments from Ved's Kashkari. So again, the live video or the registration to the live video is available on his entry in the calendar. Also keep in mind as well at the top of the hour, the Wells Fargo earnings call is due to start.
Yeah. Coming down into our node now. This is where I start to get interested. Want to see a buyer here. Waiting for that higher low. This is where we want to see buyers. It's 14 area. We have now filled the structure, right? So we should at least get a bit of relief, unless they're going to just send this down. This is a really great area to at least see an attempt. My first risk off here to this 20. Need to see a push above and then a bid. Then we can look back for 25s. Out two left. This is where you expect your seller to be on the Russell. It's where our Deepak is. You need to see a push above. Remember, this is your next PT 25s on ES. So if you took that trade with me, this is where you want to move up your stops or risk off, depending. I have one left here, 16 average. This is target. So just to give you an overview or go back into like why we were looking at that area, we knew that if we lost this 25 to 28, that there was nothing below us until we got down to this structure here. So we are going to be looking at this structure as a potential low, but we need to see the Russell and Q find a bottom as well. So we have an area of interest now of where we want to be looking to take a trade. We then are waiting for the Russell to come down, right? Find that higher low, show it on Delta as well. That gives us a push. We also have our Deepak there on NQ. That gives us a signal like, hey, this is in the same area that we are looking, we're interested in. This is now an area worth trying. And we traded up to our previous seller on the Russell, ADR, and our previous seller on NQ, right? Just right back up to our previous low, ETH high, etc. And we risk off there. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And then if we recover this area, then we get continuation, because now you have shorts that are offside. But that's just like a good confluence trade. Just being patient and waiting for push down into actual structure. Does that make sense? Any questions? Concerns? Was I clear enough? I don't know how to be more clear.
Uncertainty remaining regarding timing and extent of the Fed interest rate actions.
You'd want buyers to step in here, ideally, if they were going to hold it, and we are just going to see a new low at 18. The reason why we care about this area is we tested the low edge of this node. We then pushed above it, and we're now testing the high edge of this node. So ideally, we'd like to see this now hold as our higher low off of this edge. Failure, right? Then we look for this to be on resistance, and then we look for that to structure. here, 804. But ideally, we find a buyer at a higher low here. Not really seeing what we need to see yet off of the Russell for that to happen, but you know, give it a second. Oh, Russell's just not with it. So I want to see a recovery of that area before I do anything else.
The Dow Jones reverses course, last down 0.3%. Taking a look at the Fear and Greed Index, 72 out of 100 equaling greed, and the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, 71 out of 100 also equaling greed. And taking a look at the VIX Volatility Index, currently up 2.33% on market open at 12.72.
So if it doesn't hold here, right? If we don't find a bottom in this this window that I've blue box, I'm looking for a structure repair down into it's like 8 or 800 area. Just as an FYI. But you really want to see a buyer step up here. You've got a chance at 808 here for a small reflection or inflection, I guess, where we get a bounce. But then we expect to hit our heads here. And until price can get back over, we expect our seller to be defending lower highs. So just as an FYI, we now are watching this edge at 814 as our resistance. And if that happens, then we watch to see if this 809.25 becomes resistance for a push down. Until then, this is where we've seen buyers previously, and we're looking to see if this player will defend. If this guy won't defend, where we've seen price hold, right? If this is now offsides, then I fully just expect us to structurally repair this yellow box. There's just no reason not to. And that'll give us our next opportunity if you're looking for a long. If you don't want to just like try off of this edge at 809.25. Been curious, what are some hobbies that you guys have other than like trading? Internets, yeah, true. Sports gambling. Are you good at it, Corona? Above break even, yeah. Big. What sports do you usually bet on?
The S&P
Algos?
500
There are
and
algos
Nasdaq
telling you
pair
to do
gained
things?
Last flat.
Or do they just like weigh like stats of players? It just looks like FIFA IRL. I'm just, what is the algo like taking into consideration? Like, just is it like FIFA stats? You definitely want to risk off here, at least a bit, and just move your stops to at least break even on any runners, just as Russell retests our seller here, and NQ comes back up into our VWAP and opening range low. Fully expect that you should be meeting some sort of resistance here. I don't know if it lasts. Don't have a crystal ball. Just can tell you where structurally things should happen. So we're testing that node that I was talking about, which is why I said this is a good place to risk off. You got your bounce off that 809.25. Saw higher low step in, so buyer trying and attempting, right? Now we need to be able to push above and show this as supportive, right? This node edge or upside for a retest of that seller that is located here. So it's a good first risk off until we see if that seller has shifted downwards. Another just like logical thing that you could do, be like, oh, okay, well, if the sellers are going to maintain lower highs, this is where we expect them to be positioned, because we saw a shift from our sellers here to now here, right? We expect them to move price down to a bit of a lower position on each one of these tests if they're going to continue that movement down. So what we're looking for now from buyers is the ability to now hold this area and recover it and then push up to then make this our buyer, right? But until then, you need to risk off because we have no clue. Why would Vegas not be using these as well? Confused. Because it's a marketplace? So is Vegas's ratio just based off of current bets being placed and where they're being placed, and not by anything else? They have no hand in it. It's just like if it's too one-sided, then the ratios shift. Is that all? Sorry, I don't sports bet lately. Yeah, but what are the odds based off of? Is it just where are they coming up with them? Just whatever. Okay. Better than an algo? That's kind of what I'm getting at, ratio. Kind of confused. So coming up to our sell side imbalance above here, this is your next little like risk off area. We're looking for the Russell to be able to break this high at 77.6 for a true breakout on ES. Until then, we are just right back up to where our previous seller was, right? We bounced off our imbalance high. For this to continue, we need to see this 809.25 to become resistance for a full structure repair. Until then, this is our line in the sand, right? And we know that there's a seller above. So this is really all this area has to offer, and we can see that via the node. We know that if price can hold here, right, and it can build, structurally, we have a bit of resistance here, and we have resistance here. And these can now be our next targets if price can push. But until then, right, like we need to see basically what I would love to see is for buyers to eat up the sell side imbalance, hold here, and then do something like this for a real upside. That would make sense to me. Until then, you basically just the high of this node and the low of this node now tested, right, which is in oscillation. So you need to see acceptance at the highs for more upside. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. So wait, for a drop to 820 for another 820. We're below 820. Did I miss that comment? So there's a long opportunity here. This is your first more aggressive opportunity. And there's another long opportunity here. The reason why we are looking at these two areas is that there's an imbalance here. So you're either playing with this guy, this buyer. God, why can't I click this buyer here off of this imbalance that was created, showing an aggressive push to the upside. This is our first edge test. So you're playing off of this, or you're waiting for this to be repaired and playing off of this low, right? So if you didn't catch this, you can now do two things, right? You can wait to see if we find acceptance here at the high of this, and a look above, and then a hold, right? That's it. So you can now look to see on a push above this, because we know a seller's here. So what are your odds? We need to see if this seller is still present, and if they are, if buyers are willing to eat up all of the liquidity that is here and then make it supportive. So are your odds solid if you are buying here, if you know a seller is right above? No, not really. So we want to see if this guy's gone first, and then if a buyer is then defending this on the book, right? That's why we look for a push above, a hold, and then a push off. Because if we don't hold here and we know a seller is present up at the highs, all we're going to do is oscillate back down to the lows. Because we know that this is the current auction, right? We can label this as auction high. Auction low, right? Same thing. It's just a different way of looking at the node. So until we see the auction high become buyer value, right? Basically a shift from the high of this to now being this being the auction low, right? And then this moving up to here. Until we see that acceptance, we need to continue to respect that this is where people are willing to buy, and this is where people are willing to sell. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm back home, Grota. Got the heat on 80 right now. Living life. Multiple monitors. In my Herman Miller. Life is good. Yeah, apartment did not blow up. True. Yeah, you should. Oh my god, I was on the phone with the Dominion puts on Dominion, man. Holy crap! They told me yesterday. I was on the phone for 2.5 hours, and at the end of it, they were like, "We can't get your gas turned on until next Tuesday." And I like almost died. After they had promised over and over again that it would be on today. And then apparently this guy was just bad at his job. So we talked to a supervisor and they'd already put in the request, and someone was coming out. But like the pain that I felt. Started like looking at Airbnbs again for another week. It was just bad. But this all started because they needed to move meters outside of all these units, and the person who owned these units didn't respond. So they had to do construction on the outside and then move all of the meters to the outside of the premises. And because of that, they had to shut gas off. Just so frustrating. Just like miscommunication after miscommunication. So back down to the low of this auction. Remember, for continued downside, we need to see the auction low become resistance, right? And then that fills in this LVN back down to this node here. Until then, this is where you expect buyers to be present. So on any look below, if we get it, you want to see a strong offer here, because if it gets recovered, buyers can push this right back up. Yeah, I almost lost my mind last night. Oh my god. So if you bought that edge again, this is your first risk off into the mid at this 1475, 15 area where our POC is shifted. We need to see a push above and a hold. What do you need them for, Varg? What's on market? Which wraith weapons does he have right now? I haven't played Warframe in like a week. Do you remember how much they are? I think I've got like 1,200 right now. Or 50-ish. Not terrible. You just running relics or what? Oh yeah, that'll be good for Rory. If you want this to get filled and come down to that like 801 area, 804, 801, then you need the seller to hold the auction low as resistance, right? You want the offer to be stuck here for a structure fill down. First risk off here into 804 if you're short. Remember, we're looking for a buyer to be present here now that we've filled structure out into the green area. So you just want to move stops if you're short, or start to be looking for longs. Watching Russell to see if it can bottom. $804 again is your first risk off. $801 being your next risk off. We push down further. I have one left, just following our plan of this becoming offer. Looking to close. Just waiting for the Russell to find this low. I'm out. Looking for longs now. See if fours can hold the supportive.
Crude oil supertanker Toya U-turns before entering the Red Sea.
Nicely done, Sauce. Crazy what happens when you can find an edge. Russell Delta is not convincing as of yet. Keep that in mind. Our 804 bid is still holding, but we need NQ to be able to make an high here, or for the Russell to get his shit together if you want this to go up. Or this is going to lead to one more leg down. So really want to see a bids like slam here. Regardless, this is 3 points off of 804. Your salary offer on NQ 48, 808, 50 on ES. So this is your first like real risk off. Now we look for these areas to become supportive on any sort of push above, or not much happens. Right, we just continue down. I really want to see the ability to push over here and build. Remember, we don't really have the Russell with us yet. Still building out. And NQ is now at our pivot. So like if we don't have NQ momentum and the Russell still is going sideways, then we have a loss of momentum. So you really need to see a break over that 48 on NQ and a break over the seller at 65s on RTY, where we can get a bit of stagnation.
The IMF says we expect the global economy to maintain resilient in 2024, but work is needed to boost growth rates above the 3% range. An IMF spokesperson, Kazak, says the IMF general view is that the global economy is poised for a soft landing with lower inflation, but low-income countries are at risk of falling further behind.
Are you guys able to visualize that loss of momentum a bit more now that you have like you see all three next to each other? You see what I mean by like NQ coming up into that pivot, Russell sideways, right, into our point of resistance. Just like it logically just makes sense that we're going to struggle a bit more at that pivot, and we should be expecting less less movement upside. Hopefully like these things are connecting, dots are connecting. We're not doing anything crazy here.
So those two headlines did come out yesterday.
I have one runner left here. Just waiting to see if we can get over this pivot. This is just the bottom of our previous auction, right? It's the edge of our high volume node. So what we're looking for is what we saw previously, which is a bid over this area, right? Basically like the 10s. And then the ability to hold the edge of this node for a push back up to 15. If it can do it, that'd be ideal. So we played it to the downside, then closed our runner, reversed,
According to a
played
statement,
it back
the
up.
Energy Department is soliciting up to 3 million barrels of oil for the strategic petroleum
That
reserve.
is a full rotation. And now we have NQ starting to try to bid in that area we were just talking about with the Russell breaking above, right? So the Russell has switched momentum, whereas NQ is now building. So it allows for NQ to kind of chop sideways, build out this area, and then the Russell can take over for ES for that push up higher. You can just alternate, right? You just see that shift happen. Then we watch that, RTY now get to its pivot. This is our Deepak, our, right, where our POC has shifted down to the 67. So this is hard resistance until we see a push above. Same for NQ. VWAP as well as our POC. And it's also the edge of our range, right? It's the auction low of our previous range. So this area is very important. Are people struggling with this, or do I need to do anything differently? The people that like don't talk, how are we doing? Is this too much?
US House Speaker Johnson says we have achieved a strong top-line agreement
Gotta
on
let me know.
appropriations.
This is perfect. Yeah, you should just be in runners at this point. We're just looking to see if we can get back into the previous range. Failure, then doesn't matter. Just chop. Come back down. Really want to see this 808, 25, 810 area become supportive on EOS. As RTY and NQ battle for these POC shifts. Right, we want to get back above them. It might be hard to visualize this because of the colors that I have on. Maybe I need to change this. I thought we already did this, but maybe something happened. There's your POC shift, which is why I've been talking about that area. I mean, same thing. Why? I don't know. I thought we already did this. I don't know why it changed back to the skinny bar. But those are the lines I'm referencing where POC is. Oh, that's just on a different chart. Because we had the upside of like we needed a hard offer here. And if we got a look back above, then we come back up to the mid, right? And if we get a look below and it holds, strong offer, then we come back down and then we come down to this edge. Yeah. So like for me, I always try to have another pane that's just stepped out a bit, right? Like it's just the most important zones. And then for the smaller stuff, we can have like a more in-depth with it's a bit more messy, but I still want to have a pathing on another window. Like I have this chart on my main monitor next to my DOM. And then I usually have the 3 pane up for just reference. but I have to have like an understanding of where we're headed structurally. I'm glad that helped. Yeah, definitely. And again, this is target, right? 15s. So fully risk off here or move stops up. If you're feeling adventurous, you need to see a push over this VWAP and for this to become supportive again for anything else. But we are back up to this seller, right? This is where our current seller is at this node. And if we can push above, then we can rotate back up to our auction high. So think about it like what we just did. We had a node that we were able to find and then trade around. And then we saw excess on both sides, right? So we got our fill down here and it filled out this structure that was an imbalance. It filled this and then pushed back up. So if we can push up to this upside here, we should get this imbalance filled as well, and then a test of which way we're going to go. If we can get over this mid. I don't know if we do or not, but I'm fully risked off here
as well now, down
into 15s.
5% too.
This was our trade plan. What we want to see now is ideally this to now hold and then pop into this and then fill this, and then we can figure out where we go from there. This seemed to help you, so I'm going to save these. Have them.
So also just noting that oil has been pairing its gains on the session. It's still up 0.5% on the session on Red Sea risks.
So we're just building here at the mid, right? Seeing if there's enough to continue pushing, or if the seller is just going to continue to load here and then push price back down. I don't know yet. Russell might be leading. I don't want to see it lower than this equal low, ideally. I'd like us to be able to bounce here. And for NQ to now hold VWAP as supportive if you want to see any sort of more upside. Again, I am not in a trade. I am going to wait. We took 805 to 815, so I'm Not going to be mad at 10 points. If you guys could give the stream a like, subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be great. Trying to grow. That stuff apparently really helps. Please, please. Dude. Gotta complete with Top Step TV. Ugh. Top Step TV. Hey, you wanna go check in on him? Too busy watching my stream. Minus 2K? Yikes, dude. Yeah. Yep. Sounds about right. Ooh. It honestly seems like it, Greta. Maybe, yeah. Yikes. Not a good look. What's crazy is it doesn't seem to matter. That's the worst part. That these people are still watching. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing with NQ holding. I just didn't like how weak the Russell was, having to come back all the way. But, like, as long as we're holding this 1275, like, it's fine. But we're just hitting our head on VWAP over and over again. And, like, personally, I'm not trading NQ right now. So, like, for me, 4-point range right now that, like, ES is in just didn't feel all that comfy, knowing that this is like hard supply above. when we were already in at such a great entry. So might as well just take profits. Like, I definitely could have just had a stop on, but there's no point in giving it back for no reason. Don't care. Wait, he's down 2100, or 2200. I'm up the exact same amount he's down to the actual inverse. That's funny. I'm back home, Adrian. Got the heat on, 80 degrees right now. We are toasty. It's just funny that that's the was he just on like the wrong side of every single one of the trades that I took today? I don't know what kind of size he trades though. Probably much larger. So maybe 2200 isn't bad. Oh, okay, so these trades about the same size. Wait, I lied to you guys. After fees and commissions, it's $1,993. Sorry. Let's see if this can hold. I don't know. Doesn't look bad. Whether you're high or low on Delta, on RTY, and AQ pushing. Want to see buyer strength up here. Rom, how you doing this morning? You've been quiet. You in chat? All good? Actually AFK? Oh no, he's here. Interesting. Okay. It is so much nicer being back on my setup. Trading with one monitor and a phone was doable, but don't recommend it. Not recommend it. Yeah, no. And, like, I was trading just in my phone, but you need a monitor to, like, actually... Like, if you're gonna be, like, a price action trader, then you need a monitor. I mean, I guess my stream works just as well, but you need, like, a reference point. Which one did you go with, Sauce? I've been debating one for so long. I just really want one that's like ultra wide. Okay, yeah. 16. Yeah, I just don't need it to be a rectangle. I don't need it to be like an actual monitor shape. I'd be fine with it being like half the height, but twice as wide. I don't know if that exists. That's what I'm actually looking for. Yeah. Like I want to just be able to put my news feed on like right next to my keyboard, basically. That's it. And like maybe my Discord feed as well. between the two of them. So I don't need it to be like, I don't need a lot of height on those. Just need it to be long. But that would free a monitor or whatever. The goal is always to get it all centralized, so you don't have to move your neck all that much. The monitor actually useful if it's not in your line of sight? My opinion, no. But yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I've been looking at for, I just need it to be wider than the ones that they're, like, they exist, just not as wide as I want. I've been looking for quite some time. Like, what's the average keyboard's size? Probably what, like 18 inches, 12, 20 inches? Keyboard with a numpad on it? Look that up. I'd want it to be just as wide, at least, as my keyboard. Ideally, wider than that. Keyboard width. So a full-size keyboard. Okay, so like 17 inches is standard for a full-size keyboard. Yeah, so I'd want it to be probably like 20 long. And like 3 inches tall. I don't know, I was on all of the Chinese sites looking for it. Alright, well, we did the thing. We're back up to the high edge of our auction. Need to see if buyers can hold here. If we want anything more, or this will just result in chop, and until we see a push and a hold below this node, there's really not much. Because if we do get this, then you can get a rotation back down. But until then, you just kind of chop on this node. This being your current range. Yeah, something like that. But basically just having like a couple of RSS feeds that I can have, and then like a Discord on the bottom. I guess it could be larger than 3 inches, maybe like 5. I don't know. I just don't want it to be too bulky on the table. Like, I basically just want to cut a 27-inch monitor in half. Now that I think about it. Yeah.
Bitcoin falls more than 5% to a low of $43,759.
Yeah, that one's not terrible. Only 14 inches though. Always the problem. Is it color hour? Coming back down to the bottom of our range here. Yes, scroll. Sorry, I'm on my phone. What's up? We've got NQ leading here. What buying the dip, bud? Is that you closing a position? Okay, good job. Yeah, we'll see. You want to see, if you want more downside, you don't want to see RTY and you be able to get over these 13 EMAs here. You want this to be a hard resistance for leg down. You don't really want any like dilly-dallying here. Or this is just our same pivots as before. Nothing's changed. It's just the same 804 edge. If you are, again, like if you're looking for short continuation, ideally in this blue zone that I have drawn, at this like 809, 810, you want that to hold. And then you want to see a push below or a pop down into like 800, 801 area. You basically want this buyer here to now be offsides and to be resistance. This is a pretty clear area of significance for me. Just waiting. You really want to see this 808, 25, 50 area stay bid if you want more upside on ES. And we want higher lows, of course, on Delta, right, with price on Russell and NQ. I'm not sold on it yet, but you would want to see basically this prior ATH that I have marked 808, 25 to become supportive for any upside on a push above. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here. Gotta wait. I think the reoffer isn't bad into 60s. If it gets it, but we're just at the bottom of a range on NQ and ES. 804 on ES. It's 28 on NQ. You don't want this buyer to leave at 28s on NQ. It's not a good look. If they do. We've seen this 28 being defended for multiple sessions now. Yeah, maybe. Don't know. Don't know, don't touch it. Basically me. I don't know. Like, unless you're playing off the edges, I'm not worth. I think there's no problem trying like the 28 or the 04s on ES, but and we've already been in this trade twice, so kind of my rule of thumb. Like, I'll be looking for like some liquidity on either side at this point. Because like even if we do hold here, is it worth being in this chop looking for a push higher when there'll be clearly like a better re-entry on either side? And then I'm just like sitting in this for the next 20 minutes. Like I personally, I'm not. I'd rather be at my phone just waiting than being stressed. I'm just scrolling Reddit while you're figuring out which way it goes, you know? Mental capital. Holy shit. Yeah, and it's going nuts over Costco. Watching this 60 on RTY here. I'd love to see a push above this with the. I'm a fan of how this delta looks with price down into that low, but I need to see a push over 60s, then a hold of that. Back to our 808.25 on ES. Watching our 60 rebid on RTY. Get it. Or nothing. They're tempting. I'll be right back as we wait for this range to break. Grab some water. Well, this is boring. Jesus. At least you'll probably get a decent amount of acceleration into the afternoon with this pause. But I will not be a part of it. Last hour of my day just sitting sideways. I mean, like, we definitely defined the range early on, but I can't be bothered to play this. Crazy. 4-point range. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like, it is what it is, man. Okay, if we identified the area pretty early on. You bought fours again, right, or the bottom of this range. This is your first risk off until you push above and hold. And then we look for 12s, and then we look for this like 16-15 area of that. Jesus, this took forever. Definitely playable, just not for me. Yes, I agree. Yes, yeah. Again, like, we've already played this area multiple times. It's like, do you need every trade? If you do, right, like, we've got the areas marked, but sometimes it's better to just not, no? So, like, this is, of course, going to be your first area on a look above this previous buyer. You expect a seller to try to defend here. Then above, this is your seller reoffer here. This is an FYI of like why we're looking at these two areas for any potential upside if we can get over the pivot. And it's the same reasoning of why this is a pivot here. We see that this is a buyer, and then it flipped to our seller. So this needs to become supportive, and a bid needs to be able to hold here on a push above or upside. Or you're just going to get like trapped buyers and then trapped sellers at the lows until one of these directions holds on an offer or a rebid. It is what it is. So how did you guys feel about my first week being live every day? Except for, you know, yesterday, but like, do we feel a difference? Okay. Opposite of scuffed. Love to hear it. Glad it is helpful. And sorry about yesterday. Hopefully, like, my plan helped a bit. I was typing it out, and like our first area that I was looking for major buys happened as I was typing it, and it felt terrible that like I wasn't typing faster. But I knew that we were most likely going to pivot down that day. That's why most of like what I was looking for was pointing to the downside. But it looks like you guys had a bit more of a drastic sell than I was even expecting, which makes sense. You had to trap some people. I don't think that this is the top. I think that we definitely still have potential, but I think the sell will probably come next week. Yeah, I think consistency can be good. See, but like to me, the consistency was, hi, I'm live 3 days a week. This is how I trade, right? This is what I do. You know what I mean? So like to me, that's consistent. Like, hi, I make my money 3 days a week. I trade the markets. The rest of the week, I'm not here. I'm showing you that you do not need to be here every day, right? but maybe that isn't getting through. I don't know. But if this is helping, then I'll continue doing it. I don't care. We did pretty well overall, though, for the week. Again, like I said, I was going to be trading smaller. But like, this is what our weekly, sorry, someone texted me. I got sidetracked. This is what our weekly rate is. It's like not very different. Right, because all we did was split up the time in which we're in the market, instead of 3 full sessions to 5 sessions. And I was gone yesterday. I didn't take a single trade this week. Live in your head before. Hopefully hit a good way. But you can see like number of trades and contracts. Like I trade 2 lots. You know what I mean? Like very consistent. Your schedule sucks and I hate it. Well, we can't win them all. This is target on the hold of this area. If you're not in Discord, this is what I just posted. The week overview. Have I been clear like of where I'm looking to try and when I'm trying? I feel like I've been pretty clear this week. I don't know. I get mixed signals that like I'm really not trying to talk in riddles to you guys. I see too many people online talking riddles and then be like, "Look, I told you I was right. You were supposed to know by the lemon emoji and the croissant." Like, no, like I'm just like I'm trying here. I don't know if that's clear yet, but I'm really not trying to like be the Riddler here. Okay. Nice. I just exited my last position here off of the hold to that area and to push into this target. I need to see a push over 1275 for more. To me, this is just a retest of this buyer, and our seller is still located here. That doesn't mean that we can't get some continuation. right? But you basically just want to see a flag now hold and then pop above this for a push into. I think probably a good rule of thumb or something we can do is just look at this range. You'd want buyers to be then value 5. Well, that's for the week, Camille. That's for the week. That's not a daily performance. I just wanted to show you that I'm not like, oh, we were up one day and then like, right now. It's just like the week as a whole, no filtering. But this is my first day back, like trading on an actual DOM, which feels great. So we were a bit more profitable today because I was a bit more confident. Being able to like, I swear, there's like probably a second and a half of delay buying and selling positions if you don't have limits placed on a mobile. At least for me, it felt bad. Like, it's definitely doable, but if you don't limit into your first contract and then add market wise, like you need to be basically buying into the directional dip for you to get filled correctly. Mobile, like a seller being pushing price down into target. So like the rebid area like really matters on, from my experience this week. It just did not feel well. Feel great. I didn't even attempt to trade NQ. I don't know how you guys are trading NQ on mobile. Crazy. Maybe if it like auto-centered on mobile, it'd be fine. If it like kept track of where the DOM was. But having to like actually scroll, not great, man. Oh, at QMO, yeah, a good rule. I just not with the delay. All of a sudden, I'm Brian Watt, where I'm getting filled, 10 points higher. Is he still doing that system where he's trading in 10s, or was it 15s in NQ? Some solid number. I don't remember. Strange. You don't want to see. This is as low as I'd want to see us go. So we could say that if you were looking for a buy, you would want it to be right. This is where you want to be playing off of this buyer. But like if we push back into this, now you have people who are trapped, and then we can come back down into the. So you really want this to hold. If we don't hold here, then your next area of interest is right. That's a problem. You want to see a bid and then a retest of this area for you to feel comfy in this position. So like, yeah, sure, buyer, but you want to see that bid off of this now that it's fallen below. If not, right, we come fully back because no buyers cared. That's not what you want to see. Then the same goes for this area. You want to see buyers maintain this. And if we push below it, right, then you look for the rebid off of it. Oops. I think that these areas are always like a pretty safe. Like we see an initial buyer, that is now offsides, this retest is just always going to, like, yep, sell there. Take profit. Don't be an idiot. Until we see the push above and the hold and the recovery, this is where your seller will defend. Which is why I risked off there. Now you have to look, right? This is the look above that you're going to need to see, and the bid off of this if you want more. If not, it's the same as this, right? This is where our buyer was. This is now where our seller wants to defend. We want buyers to be able to push back above this and then show that they're interested. And then you have potential trap sells done. Right? But if not, then this is where they look to reload. I still think that this is probably going to be our best op down into this area. This edge. It's like if this 801 doesn't hold, then I don't see really much else until we come down into this like 95. Like there's just really not much. These are my next zone below us. Later, Richo. Crazy. Copyright. So if you bought the rebid of the 808.25, what we were waiting for, right? Like the push back up, just like a couple points, but it makes the trade feel a bit more or less risky, right? Just being able to bid off of that for push out. You still need to get over this 1275 for more. Just keep that in mind. Really not a ton here. But if you bought this low, or if you bought the retest here, right? Like just to now hold, or it's drop around. Yeah. Looks like Mario's here, so guess I'm done. 60's held, got a stack buy signal right on that, pushed out, but I don't know. You know, until we see NQ over VWAP, there's just really no convincing me. Right? We have like the POC shift downward. We have our VWAP and POC above. We still have that buyer present at this 28 that I was talking about, but it's hasn't like led anywhere. Right? We're just kind of building out a position. You don't have directionality yet. So there's not much I can really like say for short-term scalping other than like you're playing the edges or you're building out a position thinking that buyers are going to be able to maintain. Personally, like it's just a bit slow for me to have that secondary view. I don't know. I mean, just remember, like, even if I'm not here, like, my levels and, like, what we're looking for doesn't change, right? Just like this morning when we played off of 2850 to 25, right? Like, that was the buy. I had just hopped online, but, like, that's been the buy all week. That's the top of our previous range. So, like, we want buyers to defend that on a push out. You just need to have an understanding of where we are structurally and why we care about areas. And you're fine. You don't need me here to tell you that. It's written on the chart. I think our zone's been pretty solid. I'm gonna shift this 50 feet. This is our zone. Breach. But if for some reason this like 804 to 808 area doesn't hold as supportive, just like really keep an eye on this push down, this like 801 799 area, just like this low. You want to see if this can hold. Important. If for whatever reason we see really like to mark that. But do we see this is the same setup as earlier today? Right here. We need to hold this or we will structure repair down here. It's the same short to then long we took earlier in the day with that structural gap. So like if we lose this low, right, and price starts to build here and we fail to get back over, we look for this structure repair back down. And then you are targeting this area to play off of. It's the same as before. I mean, it's always the same. But this is important. Like, we want these buyers to stay on side, I guess. Yeah. We don't want these guys to get offside. Or we have a structure repair that can happen, a play back down into this like 92, 95 area. So like I really don't want to see price push below this blue box that I have drawn. Because if it does, it gets into some like the slippery slope territory where this is going to be like, might as well just come down and repair. And then you get the push down. So if for whatever reason our current low doesn't hold, this is that area that I really want to see buyers defend. And I think like, of course, if this 60 goes off sides where this buyer's been maintaining, you look for Globex low, right? And what we're going to be looking for is the first test of it. And then what happens on the breach below? Is it a liquidity grab and then a pop over? But I think you'll probably be able to play the rebid or the reoffer off of this level if we do come down into the afternoon. So it's definitely a level to watch, especially with this this liquidity that we have below, right, with this FEG. So it's definitely worth watching, just because we do have these levels below it, of where we can fill, look for buy side, and then push off of. Just keep that in mind. Any questions before I go? Anything that you guys want to talk about? Mario will hop on in a minute. Not. Just gonna dip. Oh. Now or never. Alright. Thank you, Sinto. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Again, over 12s, you look for 16s, right? And then remember, we have this sell side imbalance that hasn't been tested yet above. You want this chart? I don't know if this chart's... I'm sorry to like keep making new charts. This version though? Alright. You guys have a good one. At me if you have any questions or if you need anything. You know, the usual.